The question Kendall, Jimmy, and I chose to answer was, why is the average HDI lower in the southeastern United States? Recent studies have shown that there is a huge difference in HDI scores within the United States, particularly with the Southeast compared to the Northeast. In order to fully understand the disparity of these HDI scores within the United States, one must fully understand what HDI is, the historical background, and the causes and effects. HDI stands for Human Development Index, and it was created by the economist Dr. Mahbub al-Haq in the 1970s. It was then constructed and published by the United Nations as an indicator to measure the development of a country. The first official World HDI report was published by the United Nations in 1990. HDI reports within the United States are more fairly recent, appearing as recent as 2008. The three components that determine HDI are standard of living, life expectancy, and education levels. Standard of living is very much determined by income, as someone's standard of living will be greatly affected if they can or cannot afford goods and services. A study in 2021 proved that the Southeast had much less income than their counterparts in the Northeast. The general Southeastern states, which included Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, averaged $63,306 annually per household, while the northeastern states Connecticut, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Vermont, Delaware, Ohio, Maine, Rhode Island, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania averaged $94,430 per household. Because the Southeast makes less money annually income per household than the Northeast, their quality of life will be lower. Education is measured by children and people in schooling ages 3 to 24 and people with degrees from ages 25 plus. The Southeast has had teenagers dropping out. This affects their HDI score significantly, as they have some of the highest high school dropout rates. And with kids dropping out of high school, they are very, very unlikely to get secondary degrees. Although the data shown is from 2013 and the Southeast are on the rise with this issue is still affecting their education levels, and it's still very prevalent. The Southeast are also behind in life expectancy as well. The states Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama average 76.36 years, while New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts average 80.44 years. The Southeast are significantly behind the Northeast in HDI, and it shows. In 2018, an HDI study was done within the United States. The Southeastern states that included Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana averaged 0.886, while the Northeastern states, Connecticut, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Vermont, Delaware, Ohio, Maine, Rhode Island, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania averaged 0.933. It can be concluded that the Southeast is significantly behind the Northeast in HDI.
To start off, wealth is distributed unevenly among the country. The average family income can be used to measure this distribution, and this map displays this data. The blue areas represent places with at least a 10% greater average income than the mean family income of the nation, while the red areas are at least 10% below the mean income of the nation. It can be clearly seen here that the South is generally red, indicating a majority of the South has a mean family income lower than the national average. Kentucky, West Virginia, Alabama, and Arkansas all have the lowest household median incomes in the country. Based on this map from 1980, the South seems pretty bad off. But it gets worse. In 2013, this map shows that the South got an even deeper red, and it is worth mentioning the deeper blue in various places. The great difference in mean incomes provides evidence that there is an income divide between the South and other parts of the country. Income sorting is the process by which people with similar socioeconomic statuses are moving to the same places or sorting themselves. This causes places where there is already wealth to become even wealthier, and places without as much opportunity for upward mobility to get progressively worse. This chart shows a couple of major cities' changes in their average family income. Through the process of income sorting, cities like Dallas, Houston, and Miami have all seen a decrease in their mean income relative to the national average. This directly affects the per capita income pillar of the HDI of the South, decreasing the HDI. The low HDI in the South can also be attributed to the Southerners' unhealthy lifestyles. This map shows smoking bans by state. The blue states prohibit smoking in workplaces, restaurants, and bars by law. As you can see, there are no Southern states with any of these laws. With no smoking laws, Southerners are twice as likely to smoke. This is an activity hazardous not only to themselves, but to others through secondhand smoke. This is a serious issue because air pollution like this can cause asthma, bronchitis, and heart attacks. This map chart shows the physicians per 100,000 residents in each state, deeper red being more and lighter orange being less. It can be seen that in the South, there is a lack of healthcare providers. Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi are some of the lowest 10 states when it comes to primary care physicians per capita. Such a lack in physicians has been a cause for high infant mortality rates. It has also led to a high rate of preventable deaths, which could have been prevented had they seen a doctor. Considering all of this, it can be seen why there is a lower life expectancy in this part of the country, which also directly decreases the HDI. The scarcity of nutritional food is another big reason for the low HDI in the South. If we think about how people in the South are spatially distributed, we will find that a higher percentage of people live in rural areas here than they do elsewhere. This creates a serious issue for those individuals, a lack of grocery stores. The range of a grocery store is generally not that far, because an everyday service like this isn't that specialized. This means that a grocery store will not locate itself in most rural areas, because there are not enough people to meet its threshold. Even in places where there are enough people to support the grocery store, the low income levels as previously mentioned limit rural Southerners' abilities to pay for these groceries. This further decreases the threshold. This is probably one of the causes for the over 30% obesity rate in all Southern states, excluding Florida. With a lack of grocery stores and subsequently nutritional foods, health issues like this arise. Considering this, it becomes clear why Southerners die prematurely twice as often as those in Minnesota and California.
Here are some of the effects of the low HDI in the southern United States. So the first effect is the life expectancy at birth. So you can see here in the southeastern region that the color is much lighter than the rest. And when you look at the legend, that's because the life expectancy is much lower. So the states with the lowest life expectancy are West Virginia with 74.4, Mississippi with 74.6, and Alabama with 75.1. And the states with the highest life expectancy are Hawaii with 81, California with 80.8, and Minnesota and New York both coming in with 80.5. So the reason that this is an effect of the low HDI is because the longer someone lives, the more they're able to develop. So when the life expectancy is lower, it's going to cause the states to have a lower HDI compared to states with a higher life expectancy that are more likely to have a higher HDI. So the next effect is the infant mortality in the United States. So as you can see here in the almost the same southeastern region, that it is much darker than the rest of the map, and that is because the infant mortality rate is much higher in this area than the rest of the United States. When you look at the legend, you can look at the numbers, ranging from these lighter states, which would be 3.07 to 4.89, and these darker regions that range from 7.14 to 11.46. And the states with the highest infant mortality rate are Mississippi with 9.07 deaths per 1,000 births, Louisiana with 8.07 deaths per 1,000 births, and Alabama with 7.89 deaths per 1,000 births. And the states with the lowest infant mortality rate are New Hampshire with 3.07 deaths per 1,000 births, Massachusetts with 3.59 deaths per 1,000 births, and California with 4.6 deaths per 1,000 births. And the reason that this is an effect of the low HDI is because when there are infants or young children that die, they aren't able to develop. So when there's a low HDI, it means there's a much higher chance for people to die younger, and when they die younger, they're not able to develop as much, which causes HDI to be lower. And the third effect is the depression rate in the United States. As you can see here, the similar region as the first two pictures. You can look at the legend. The percent is from 10.4 to 14.8, and that means that the depression rate is much higher. In the states with the highest depression rate are Mississippi, where 14.8% of people who were surveyed were depressed, West Virginia with 14.3%, and Alabama with 13%. And the states with the lowest are Minnesota with 5.9% and Alaska and Iowa, both having 6.2%. So the reason that this is an effect of the low HDI is that since the HDI is lower, people will die. There's a chance that people will die younger. The standard of living is lower since the HDI is lower, which means it is a less enjoyable lifestyle for people who live there. So that could cause them to have high rates of depression since they have a non-enjoyable lifestyle, and since it's a lower HDI, people are more likely to die younger, which would mean that these people who are depressed, they could be their family members, even their children, where we saw the infant mortality rate. So, like, if their child was to die young, that was definitely a possibility for a person to become depressed. And that is 3 effects of the low HDI in the southern United States. So, to answer our question, which is why is the average HDI lower in the southeastern United States, you have to look at the 3 components of HDI, which are life expectancy, education, and standard of living. So, in the southeastern United States, the average life expectancy is 76.36 years, and the US average is 78.54 years. So this just shows that in the southeastern United States, people are more likely to die earlier, which causes the HDI to be lower. And for the second component, education, in the southeast, there are much more high school dropouts and less adults with college degrees, and this causes the HDI to be lower. And for the third component, the standard of living, because people have less education since they dropped out of high school or they don't have a college degree, they're unable to find higher paying jobs. And since they can't find higher paying jobs, the average income in the southeast will be lower than in some more wealthy parts of the United States, like the northeast. And since the average income is lower, it causes the standard of living to also be lower, and this causes the average HDI to be lower in the southeastern United States.